The 3-note per string approach is exactly what it describes. Scale patterns in which there are 3 notes assigned to each of the 6 strings. 7 notes to a scale gives 7 different scale patterns, 1 from each scale degree. So what's the secret to learning the patterns fast? Stage 1 is knowing the 3-note fingering patterns from each note of the scale on a single string. The major scale formula is such that no 3 neighbouring notes span a distance greater than 2 whole steps or 4 frets horizontally. When we split up the scale into its 3-note groupings, we see that there are only 3 fingering patterns to memorise. Whole step followed by another whole step, half step, and half step, whole step. Learn these. This is essential. I want to introduce you to the pattern cycle. Each number relates to the major scale degree. 1, the root, is followed by 4, which is followed by 7, which is followed by 3, etc. If you know your intervals, you may be aware that this is ascending fourths. The importance of this becomes apparent as we move into stage 2, combining the fingerings on a string pair for a 6-note scale pattern. Don't forget that there is a whole or half step movement as you change strings. The note a half step above is found 4 frets lower on the string physically below. A whole step is 3 frets lower on the string physically below. These intervals will be 1 fret narrower between strings 3 and 2 to accommodate the major third tuning between this string pair. When beginning on the root, the fingering pattern will end on the major third, the next note being the 4th. The 4th also has the whole fingering pattern, which can be aligned directly below the root on the string below. Combining the two, you have 6 of the 7 notes of the major scale when starting from the root, always highlighted in red. This fingering pattern will work on all the string pairs except strings 3 and 2, for which the pattern on string 2 must always be raised that 1 fret. There you have your first 6-note scale pattern when starting from the root. The other 6-note patterns will be formed in the same way, and we can use the pattern cycle to know which fingering patterns are paired together. Starting from the 2nd scale degree with the whole half fingering pattern, the pattern cycle tells us that 2 is followed by 5 on the string below, the whole step pattern. Being a whole step above the 4, the 5 is found immediately below the 2, and notice that this will be the only 6-note pattern that does not contain the root note. The 3rd will be followed by the 6th. The 4th is followed by the 7th. The 5th is followed by the root. The 6th is followed by the 2nd, and the 7th is followed by the 3rd. Ideally, you will have these memorized before moving on to stage 3, bringing everything together for scale patterns across all 6 strings. Your fingers will begin to get familiarized with the 6-note patterns, but the pattern cycle can tell you the exact fingering patterns to follow whilst ensuring that you make the correct fretting hand position shift as you change strings. Beginning on the root, 1 will be followed by 4. 4 is followed by 7. 7 is followed by 3. 3 is followed by 6. 6 is followed by 2. This is pattern 1 of the major scale. As you learn this and the other patterns, always be mindful of the location of the root. The top notes on string 1 beginning on the 2nd will form the starting point of pattern 2 on string 6. Indeed, the pattern cycle can continue indefinitely if you jump directly from string 2 to 6 to begin the next pattern. So 2 is followed by 5, 5 is followed by 1, then it's 1 to 4, 4 to 7, looking out for that big position shift, 7 to 3. Once you have the muscle memory of the scale pattern, practice it up and down from the lowest root to reinforce the sound of that major scale. Remember at this stage that these are patterns of the major scale, not different modes. The pattern on string 1 once again forms the starting point of pattern 3 from string 6. So we have 3 to 6, 6 to 2, 2 to 5, 5 to 1, 1 to 4. Let's continue in the same way using the pattern cycle from the 4th scale degree, the F in the 1st fret. Simply follow the pattern cycle. 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5. From the 5th scale degree, G for pattern 5 will be 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6. From the 6th scale degree for pattern 6, the note A, it will be 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 7. And lastly, from the 7th for pattern 7, the note B, it's 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. To illustrate the power of the pattern cycle, let's quickly work through the F major scale. At each stage, I'm thinking about the pattern cycle to know the next fingering sequence. 1, 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6. Passing fluidly through the different patterns comes with time and focused practice, so be patient and enjoy the ride. Be sure to like the video if you got some value from it. Tabs and fretboard charts with all the major scale patterns are available on my Patreon page. Practice well, and I'll see you next time.